What's up, Internet, and welcome back to the Engadget podcast. I'm Senior Editor Devinder Hardwar. I'm joined this morning by Senior Editor Karissa Bell. Hello, Karissa.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. And also podcast producer Ben Ellman. Hey, Ben. I cannot hear you, Ben.
I muted my dang self.
Oh,
Hello.
hello, Ben. Good morning. It's been a busy week. It's one of those weeks where three major conferences happened all at once and of varying relevance to us. Google I/O is the big one. We'll be talking about that with Karissa, who was there and got to demo Google's XR glasses. But also Computex was happening. That's over in Taipei, and we got a lot of news from that. We'll mention some of those things. Also, Microsoft Build happened, and I feel like this was the least relevant build to us ever. I got one bit of news I can mention there. But that's pretty much it. It's been a crazy, hectic week for us over at Engadget. As always, if you're enjoying the show, please be sure to subscribe to us on iTunes or your podcatcher of choice. Leave us a review on iTunes. Drop us an email at podcast@engadget.com. Those emails, by the way, if you ask a good question, it could end up being part of our Ask Engadget section. So that's something we're starting up. I have another good one I'll be throwing to Ask Engadget soon. So send us your emails, podcast@engadget.com. Google I/O. It's all about AI, isn't it? I feel like, Karissa, we were watching the keynote for this thing, and it felt like it went on and on and on about the things like we all pretty much expect. More about Gemini AI, more about their newer models, a bit about XR. Can you give me what's your overall impression of I/O at this point?
Yeah, it's interesting because I've been covering IO long enough that I remember back when it used to be Android, Android, Android,
Yeah.
and then there'd be like that little section at the end about, AI and some of the other stuff. And now it's completely reversed where it's entirely AI and basically no Android to the point where they had a whole separate event with their typical Android stuff the week before, so I didn't have to go through and talk about any of
Yeah.
the mobile things.
And that was just like a live stream. That was just like a chill live stream. No real effort put into it. Whereas this is the whole show. They had who was it performing? It was an artist. Yeah, somebody wants to mention them. But they had
Toro y moi.
Tori Moi. Yeah, they had actual
Mhm.
music, which is something a lot of these folks do at keynotes. It's actually really disconcerting to see cool musicians taking the corporate gig and performing at one of these things. I think it's like 2013, 2014, maybe the Intel one, IDF or something. But The Weeknd was there, just trying to jam to all these nerds, and it was kind of sad. But yeah, how was the experience, Karissa? Like actually going there?
Yeah, it was good. That keynote is always kind of a slog, just, live blogging for almost 2 hours straight, just constant is it's a lot. I did like the music.
Mhm.
Tori Moa was very chill. It was a nice way to start. I preferred it over the crazy Loop Daddy set we
Oh
got last year, if anyone remembers that.
yeah.
I remember that. Mark Rubier was at I/O. That was so weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a little intense.
That's cool. That's cool. So what are some of the highlights? Like there's a bunch of stuff. If you go look on the site on Engadget, we have rounded up like all the major news, and that includes a couple of things like hey, AI mode chatbot coming to search. That's cool, I guess. Um, we got more. I think the thing a lot of people were looking at was like Project Astra and where that's going to be going, and that is the sort of universal AI assistant where you could hold your phone up and just ask it questions about the world. We got another demo video about that, which again, the actual utility of it, I'm kind of weirded out by. There's also one video where they were just like, I'm going to be dumb. I'm going to pretend I'm very stupid and ask Astra, what is this tall building in front of me? And it was like a fire hydrant or something. It was like some piece of street thing. It was not a really well done demo. Do you have any thoughts about that, Chris? Like, does that seem more compelling to you now, or is it kind of the same as what we saw last year?
What was interesting to me about it was that we saw Astra last year, and like that, I think there was a lot of excitement around that, but it wasn't really entirely clear where that project was going. They've said it's like an experimental research thing, and then I feel like this year they kind of really laid out that they want to bring all that stuff to Gemini. Like Astra is sort of their place to like tinker with this
Mhm.
and get all this stuff working, but like their end game is putting this into Gemini. You can already see it a little bit in Gemini Live, which is like their multimodal feature where you can do some version of like what Astra can do. And so that was kind of interesting. They're saying, we want Gemini to be this universal AI assistant. They didn't use the word AGI or anything like that. But
Mhm,
I think
mhm,
it's pretty clear where they're going and like what their ambition is like they want this to be, kind of an all-seeing, all-knowing AI assistant that can kind of help you with anything is what they're trying to sell it as.
mhm. It is weird. Like we're watching the demo video. It's a guy trying to fix his bike, and he is pointing his phone at like the bike and asking questions like which particular, I don't know. It's like which particular nut do I need for this like tightening thing? And it's giving him good advice. It's pointing to things on YouTube. I I don't know how useful this will actually be. This kind of goes to part of the stuff we're seeing with AI too, of just like offloading some of the grunt work of human intelligence, because like you can kind of do this right now. People have been YouTubing to fix things forever. YouTube has become this like information repository of just like fix it stuff for home plumbing or whatever. And now it's just like you'll be able to talk to your phone. It'll direct you right to those videos or extract the actual instructions from those. That's kind of cool. I feel like that's among the more useful things. More useful than like putting Gemini right into Chrome, which is another thing they're talking about. And I don't know how useful that is, other than they want to push AI in front of us, just like Microsoft wants to push Copilot in front of us at all times, right?
What is a
Mhm.
situation where you would have a question about your Chrome tabs? Like, I'm not one of those people that has like 15 Chrome tabs open at any given time. And I know that
15?
I am, yeah, I know. You're like,
Wait, you're saying
that
like
only
high?
15?
Like it's high? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know. So I have a abnormally low number
Mhm.
of Chrome tabs open. But can you still come up with like an idea of why you would ask Gemini anything about your own tabs open?
I,
Hopefully you have them
yeah.
organized at least.
I
I
think
mean,
it's, go ahead.
they showed a few examples of
Mhm.
like online shopping. Like maybe you have two tabs of two different products open, and you can say like
Exactly.
ask Gemini to like compare the reviews, or they use like the example of like a recipe blog, and maybe you want to like make some kind of modification, like make the recipe gluten free, and you could ask Gemini like, hey, make this. How would I make this gluten free? But I think you're right. Like,
Mhm.
it's not exactly clear. You can already just open a new tab and like go to Gemini and ask it something. So,
Trying to reduce
um,
friction. I think that's the main thing. Like just
yeah.
the less you have to think about it, the more it's in your face. You can just always just jump right to it. It's like hey, you can Google search from any your URL bar, your location bar in any browser. We've just grown to use that, but that didn't used to be the case. I kind of remember there used to be a separate Google field in some browsers, and it wasn't always there in every browser too.
Mhm.
They did announce some new models. We saw there's Gemini 2.5 Pro. There's a deep think reasoning model. There's also a flash model that they announced for smaller devices. Did they show any good demos of the reasoning stuff? Because I kind of that's essentially slower AI processing to hopefully get you better answers with fewer flaws. Did they actually show how that worked, Carissa?
I mean, I only saw what we all saw during the keynote, and I think we've seen a few other AI companies do something similar where you can see it kind of
Hmm.
like think like sort of its reasoning
Yeah,
process and
yeah.
see it do that in real time. But um, I think it's a bit unclear exactly what that's going to look like.
Hmm. Watching a video. Oh, Gemini can simulate nature, simulate light, simulate puzzles, turn images into code. I feel like the
And
big
this
thing.
is a
Yeah,
lot of this stuff is from DeepMind, right? Like this
Yes.
is
not
DeepMind, an alphabet company.
DeepMind and Alphabet Company. I mean, there is DeepMind. This is Deep Think, and don't confuse this with Deep Seek, which is that the Chinese AI company, and they clearly knew what they were doing when they called that thing Deep Seek. But no, yeah, this is partially stuff coming out of DeepMind. DeepMind, a company which Google has been like doing stuff with for a while, and we just have not really seen much out of it. So I guess Gemini and all their AI processes are kind of a way to do that. We also saw something that
I
got a
mean,
lot
we
of people.
saw Nobel Prize from them. Come on.
We did see that. What does that mean? What is that even worth anymore? That's an open question. They also showed off a new video tool called Flow, which I think got a lot of people intrigued because it's using a new VO3 model, so kind of an updated version of what they've had for video effects for a while. And The results look good. Like the video looks higher quality. Humans look more realistic. There have been the interesting thing about VO3 is it can also do synchronized audio to actually produce audio and dialogue for people too. So people have been uploading videos around this stuff online at this point, and you have to subscribe to the crazy high end version of Google's subscription to even test out this thing at this point. That is the AI Ultra plan that costs $250 a month. But I saw something of like, yeah, here's a pretend tour of a make believe car show. And it was just people spouting random facts. So like, yeah, I like EVs. I would like an EV. And then it looks realistic. They sound synchronized. Like you could think this is a normal person. Then they just kind of start laughing at the end for no reason, like weird little things. It's sort of like if you see a sociopath try to pretend to be a human for a little bit. There's real Patrick Bateman vibes from a lot of those things. So I don't know. It's kind of fun. It's kind of cool. I think
Didn't they
there's
announce that they
Mhm.
also had a tool to help you figure out whether or not a video was generated by Flow?
They
Like,
did announce
did
it.
you hear anything about that, Carissa?
I've no.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah, the Synth ID. They've been working on that for a while. They talked about it last year at I/O. That's like their digital watermarking technology. And the funny thing about this is the whole concept of like AI watermarking is you put like these like invisible watermarks into AI generated content. So, you couldn't just see it just watching this content, but you can go to this website now and, basically like double check
Mhm.
if it has one of these watermarks, which is like, on one hand, I think it's important that they do this work, but I also just wonder how many people are going to see a video and think, I wonder what kind of AI is in this. Let me go to this other website and like double check it. Like that just,
Yeah.
The people who are most likely to immediately believe it are also the least likely to go to the website and be like, I would like to double check
Yeah.
this.
It doesn't matter because most people will not do it, and the damage will be done just having super hyper realistic, AI video. You can essentially make anything happen. Um, it's funny that the big bad AI bad guy in the new Mission Impossible movies, the Entity, one of the main things it does is like, oh, we don't know what's true anymore because the Entity can just fabricate reality at whim. We're just doing that. We're just doing that for, I don't know, for fun. I feel like this is a thing we should see in all AI video tools. This doesn't really answer the problem, like answer the question that everyone's having though. It's like, what is the point of these tools? Because it does kind of devalue filmmaking. It devalues people using actual actors or going out and actually shooting something. Did Google make a better pitch for why you would use Flow, Carissa, or how it would fit into like actual filmmaking?
I'm not sure they did. They showed that goofy Darren Aronofsky trailer for like some woman who was trying to like make a movie about her own birth, I guess. And it was like
Right,
seemed like
right.
it was trying to be in the style of like some sort of like psychological thriller, but it just I don't know, it just felt really weird to me. Uh I was just like, what are we watching? This just
What are we
doesn't
watching?
Was there
yeah.
any like good backstory about why she was doing that either? Or was it just like, hey, we're doing something really, really weird?
No, she was just kind of like, "Oh, I wonder, what I want to tell the story of my own birth." And like, okay,
Okay, but why is your
who can't
birth
relate?
more
Listen,
yeah, like
it's like
I need more
everybody,
details. Why is your birth more important?
it's
Like lots
everybody
of
who wants
babies
to
are
write a
born like
memoir.
one of three
Yeah,
ways or something.
yeah. It's about everybody who wants to write a memoir. It's kind of the same thing, kind of that same navel gazing thing. The project is called Ancestra. I'm gonna play a bit of the trailer here. Uh, I remember seeing this. It reminds me of like that footage. I don't know if you guys remember seeing "Look Who's Talking" for the very first time or something, or those movies where they, they showed a lot of things about how babies are made. And as a kid, I was like, how'd they make that? How'd that get done? They're doing that now with AI video and Ancestra, this whole project. It is kind of sad because Aronofsky is one of my favorite directors. When he is on, he is on. He has made some of my favorite films, but also he's a guy who has admittedly stolen ideas and concepts from people like Satoshi Kon, as specific framing of scenes and things like that. In Requiem for a Dream are in some of Kon's movies as well. So I guess it's to be expected, but it is sad because Hollywood as a whole, the unions certainly do not like AI video. There was a story about James Earl Jones's voice being used as Darth Vader in
In
Fortnite.
Fortnite.
In Fortnite, yeah, which is something we knew was going to happen because Disney licensed the rights to his voice before he died from his estate, and he went in and recorded lines to at least create a better simulation of his voice. But people are going out there making that Darth Vader swear and say bad things in Fortnite, and the WGA or is it SAG? It's probably SAG, but SAG, like the unions are pissed off about this because they did not know this was happening ahead of time, and they're worried about what this could mean for the future of AI talent. So yeah, I don't know. Flow looks interesting. I keep seeing people play with it. I made a couple of videos. Asked it to make like, hey, show me 3 cats living in Brooklyn with a view of the Manhattan skyline or something, and it kind of did that. But the apartment it rendered didn't look fully real. It had like weird heating things all around, and also apparently if you just subscribe to the basic plan to get access to Flow, you can use Flow, but that's using the VO2 model, so older AI model. To get VO3 again, you have to pay $250 a month. So maybe that'll come down in price eventually, but we shall see. The thing I really want to talk with you about, Karissa, is like what the heck is happening with Android XR. And that is kind of a weird project for them because I was writing up the news and they announced like a few things. They were like, "Hey, we have a new developer release to help you build Android XR apps," but it wasn't until the actual I/O show that they showed off more of what they were actually thinking about. And you got to test out a pair of prototype Google XR glasses powered by Android XR. Can you tell me about that experience and just how does it differ from the other XR things you've seen from who is it from? Several. You've seen Metas, and you
Meta.
saw one from Snap, right?
Meta, I've seen Snap, yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen Xreal,
Yeah.
some of the other smaller companies I got to see at CES. Yeah, that was like a bit of a surprise. I know that they've been talking about Android XR for a while. I feel like it's been a little kind of more in the background. So they brought out these, these glasses, and the first thing that I noticed about them was like they were actually pretty small and like normal looking compared to Meta's Orion or like the Snap Spectacles. Like these were very thin, which was cool.
Mm-hmm.
But the display was only on one side. It was only on one lens. They called it like a monocular display.
Yeah.
So there was like one lens on one side. So it's basically just like a little window, very small field of view.
We can see it if you go to the picture on top of Chris's hands-on piece, you can kind of see the frame out of what that lens would be. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I noticed even when we were watching that demo video that they did on stage, that like the field of view looked very small.
Mm-hmm.
It was, I mean, it was even smaller than Snaps, which is 35 degrees. Like this, I would, if I had to guess, I'd say it's maybe like around 20. They wouldn't say what it was. They said, this is a prototype. We don't want to say. The way I thought about it, the way I compared it to my piece was kind of like the front screen on a foldable phone.
Mm-hmm.
So it's sort of like you can get notifications and like you can sort of like glance at things, but it's not fully immersive AR. It's not, surrounding your space and like really kind of, you know, uh, changing your reality, I guess, in the way that like, Snap and Meta are trying to do. Later when I was driving home, I realized it actually was reminding me like a better comparison might be the heads-up display in your car.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you have a car that has like that little HUD where you can see like, how fast you're going and directions and stuff like that.
Yeah. That's kind of what Google Glass was doing too, right? Because that was a little thing off to the side of your vision. That was never a full take over your vision type of thing.
Yeah, it's funny. That's what our editor Aaron said when he was editing my piece. He was like, "Oh, this sounds like Google Glass," and I'm like, "No, it actually. I mean, it is better than that. Like these are like normal looking glasses. I mean, I tried Google Glass many years ago. Like
Yeah.
the fidelity was better. Actually, I was thinking, it kind of feels like a happy medium almost
Mm-hmm.
between, Meta Ray-Bans and like full AR.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I've had a Meta Ray-Ban glasses for a long time, and people always ask me like when I show it to someone, they're like, "Oh, that's so cool," and then they go, "But you can see stuff, right? There's a display," and I'm like, "No, no, no. These are
Uh,
just
yeah.
glasses with a speaker." And I feel like this might be like a good kind of like in between thing because you have a little bit of a display, but they still look like glasses. They're not so bulky because they're not trying to do too much. One thing I really liked is that when you take a photo, you actually like get a little preview of that image that like floats onto the screen, which was really cool because it's kind of
Mm-hmm.
hard to figure out how to frame pictures when you are taking, using camera on your smart glasses. So I think there's some interesting ideas, but it's very early. Obviously, they want like Gemini to be a big part of it. The Gemini stuff was kind of busted in my demo. Uh,
You also said they don't plan on selling these. These are like purely, hey, this is what could be a thing, but they're not selling these specific glasses, right?
Yeah, these specific ones are like, this is a research prototype. But they did also announce a partnership with Warby Parker and another glasses company. So I think it's like you can kind of see them trying to take a meta approach here, which
Mhm.
actually would be pretty smart to say, like, let's partner with, a known company that makes glasses. They're already popular. We can kind of give them our tech expertise. They can make the glasses look good, and maybe we'll get something down the line. I actually heard a rumor that that prototype was manufactured by Samsung. They wouldn't say. Um,
I mean, of course it is.
yeah,
Samsung wants to be all over this. Samsung is the one building the full-on Android XR headset, which is a sort of like Vision Pro copycat. Like it is,
Wuhan.
yeah, Muhan. It is
So
displays with the pass-through camera that should be coming later this year. Go ahead, Ben.
yeah, question for Karissa. When Sergey Brin was talking about Google Glass, did that happen before or after the big demo for the Google XR glasses?
That was after. That was at the end of the day. He was kind of a surprise guest on this fireside chat with the DeepMind CEO. And yeah, it was, we were all kind of wondering about that because we all, I mean, Dev probably remembers this
Mhm.
very well. The when Google Glass came out and Sergey Brin skydived wearing them
Yes.
into IO.
Yep.
And then, now for him to kind of come back and say, well, we made a lot of mistakes with that product. And
Okay, but was it mistakes or was it just the fact that like technology was not there yet? Because he was talking about like consumer electronics supply chain, blah 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 blah.
He's right.
But
He's right
like,
that the tech has caught up with the vision of what they wanted to do, but also I think he fundamentally misread. Like people will see you looking like the goddamn Borg and want to destroy you. Like they want you will turn into Captain Picard and be like, I must destroy whoever is wearing Google Glass because this looks like an alien trying to take over my civilization. And the thing that Meta did right that you've seen, Carissa, is that make them look like normal glasses and
yeah.
yeah, but
people
I
know.
mean, Carissa does not look entirely human in this picture either.
Yes, but well,
Listen,
from if you see them straight on, they
yeah,
look
yeah.
transparent. That was sort of, I used that photo because I was trying to
You get the angle
show
of
the
it. Yeah,
display. Yeah.
yeah. There's another one.
Okay,
Like
yeah,
this looks
that
normal.
makes
This looks
sense.
totally normal. The glasses themselves look like typical hipster glasses. Like they're not like a super big frame
They're
around
light.
them. They look like the arms seem big. The arms seem wider than a typical pair of glasses, but you wouldn't know that because it's covered in your hair. A lot of people won't notice glasses arms as much. Yeah, that is
The
cool.
issue
Mhm.
still is that all of these frames are so chunky.
I
And
mean,
it's because you need to hide all of the internals and everything. But, like, you're not gonna get, like, the beautiful, like, thin Japanese, like, titanium
mhm.
anytime soon
No,
because this stuff
it's
needs
not.
to shrink way more.
This stuff that's not those the kind of frames they are. I will say I had a meeting with the one of the I believe the CEO of Xreal who came not I did talk to them at CES. So they had like a lot of ideas about that. I talked to the head of Spacetop, which is that's the company that was doing the sort of AR laptop thing, and then they gave up on that idea because AI PCs have the NPUs that they need to do that stuff. And they're all in on the idea that, more people will want to use these sorts of glasses, maybe not all the time, but for specific use cases, something that covers your field of vision more could be a great thing when you sit down at your desk. I could see people doing this. I could see people getting these glasses. I don't know if it's going to be good for society, right? It kind of feels like when Bluetooth headsets were first popping up and everybody hated those people and were like, oh,
Yep,
we must
yep.
shun this person from society. This one you can't quite see the screen, so you can pretend to be a normal human and then have this like augmented ability next to you. Uh, if they can hide that, if they can actually hide the fact that you have a display on your glasses, that would help people like me who are kind of face blind. And I walk around like I know this person. I've seen them before. What is their name? What is their name? I could see that being useful.
On the other side of it, though,
Mhm,
if you have like one standard look for glasses like this,
mhm,
then you know, oh, this person is also interacting with like information and stuff that's like popping up in front of their eyes.
mhm.
It's a universal signifier, just like having like a big pair of headphones is.
Kind of. I think you will see people looking off to the distance, right? Carissa, did you notice that your eye line was moving away from people you were talking to while you were wearing these?
Yeah, and that was also one of the issues that I had was
Mhm,
that the actual like display would like was it like didn't quite render right where I'm not a far-sighted person, but I actually had to look kind of farther off in the distance to actually like get it to the, like my eyes to focus on it. And I asked them about that and they're like, "Oh, well, it's a prototype. It's not quite dialed in." They weren't calibrating these things to your eyeballs like the way when I did the Meta Orion demo, they have to take these specific measurements because there's eye tracking and all these things, and this, didn't have any of that. So uh there definitely was kind of, somebody's talking to you, but you're kind of looking over here.
That's not great. That's not great for
Yeah.
society or having a conversation with people. I like how they're framing this like, oh, yes, you can be more connected with reality because you don't have a phone in front of your face, except you always have another display in front of your face, which nobody else can see, and you're going to look like an alien walking around. They showed some videos of people using it for like street navigation, which I kind of
Yeah.
like. You're in a new city, you'll see the arrows and where to turn and stuff. That's kind of useful, but there was one that was really overwrought. It was a couple dancing at sunset, and the guy is like, take a picture of this beautiful moment of the sun peeking through behind my lady friend. And it just felt like that's what you want to do in that moment. You want to talk to your virtual assistant while you should be enjoying the fact that you are having this beautiful dancing evening, which nobody will ever actually have. So that's the whole thing. I will say my overall thoughts on this stuff, like just looking at the stuff they showed before they actually showed us the glasses, it doesn't feel like Google is actually that far in terms of like making this a reality. Carissa, the like I'm comparing it to where Meta is right now and even where Apple is right now. Like when Apple showed us the Vision Pro, we were able to sit down and I had a 30-minute demo of that thing working, and I saw the vision of what they were doing and they thought a lot about how this was. How long was your demo with this thing?
I was in the room with them for about 5 minutes, and I had them on for about 3 minutes
That's
Oh
a
myself.
goodness.
demo.
So all
That's
of these
a
It
pictures
demo.
was
were taken in the same 90 seconds?
Yeah.
yes.
God.
It's amazing
There
you were able to capture these impressions, Carissa. Yeah.
I will say that they did apparently have a demo in December, a press event in
Mhm.
December where people got to see these things for a lot longer, but
Okay.
they could not shoot them at all. So, we, a lot of us were kind of wondering like if that was why it was so constrained. They only had one room, there's hundreds
Yeah.
of people basically lining up to try these out. And they're like very strict. You got 5 minutes. Somebody's in there like after a couple minutes, like rushing you out, and we're
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
okay, like
So they clearly only have a handful of these. That's like the main reason this is happening. I'm this is the company, that did Google Glass, and that was too early and also maybe too ambitious, but also don't forget Google Cardboard, which was this like that was a fun little project of getting phone-based VR happening. Daydream VR, which was their self-contained headset, which was
yeah.
kind of cool. That was when Samsung was kind of doing the thing with Meta as well, or with Oculus at the time. So like, and they gave up on those things completely. And Google's not a company I trust with consumer hardware in general. So don't think there's a huge future in Android XR, but they want to be there. They want to be where Meta is and where Apple is, and we shall see. Anything else you want to add about IO, Carissa?
Uh, no, just that
Oh, yeah.
AI.
Yeah, yeah, we
AIAIO.
AIO, AIO. Starline, the thing that was a like weird 3D rendering teleconferencing video, that is becoming a real thing. That's turning into Google Beam video. But it's going to be an enterprise thing. They're teaming up with with HP to bring a scaled down version of that to businesses. I don't think we'll ever see that. That's one of those things where it's like, oh, this exists in some corporate offices who will pay $50,000 for this thing, but I don't. Normal people will never interact with this thing, so it practically just does not exist. So we shall see. Anyway, stay tuned for. We're gonna have more demos of the Gemini stuff. We'll be looking at the new models, and certainly Chris and I will be looking hard at Android XR and wherever the heck that's going. Let's quickly move on to other news. And I just want to say there were other events. Computex, we wrote up a whole bunch of laptops. AMD announced a cheaper Radeon graphics card. Go check out our stories on that stuff. Build, I wrote one. I got a 70-page book of news from Microsoft about Build, and like 99% of that news just does not apply to us because Build is so fully a developer coding conference. Hey, there's more Copilot stuff. There's a Copilot app coming to 365 subscribers, and that's kind of cool, but not super interesting, I would say. The big thing that happened this week and that surprised a lot of us is the news that OpenAI has bought Jony Ive's design startup for $6.5 billion. This is a wild story, which is also paired with a weird picture. It looks like they're getting married. It looks like they're announcing their engagement over here because Jony Ive is just leaning into him. Their heads are touching a little bit. It's so
You're
adorable.
not showing the full website though. The full website has like a script font. It literally looks
Yeah.
like something from The Knot.
Yeah. Let's look at here. Sam and Johnny introduce I/O. This is an extraordinary moment. Computers are now seeing, thinking, understanding. Please come to our ceremony at this coffee shop for some reason. They also, so they produced this coffee shop video to really show this thing off, and it is wild to me. Let me pull this up over here. This is
While we're doing that,
Rob-
Karissa, what do you have to say about this?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm trying to remember. So I know this is Jony Ive's like AI because he also has like the Love From, which is still
This is Love From. This is so he is. Let me get the specifics of the deal out here.
yeah.
As part of the deal, Ive and his design studio Love Form, is it Love Form or
Love Form, yeah.
Love Form, are going to be joining. Are going to work independently of OpenAI. But Scott Cannon, Evans Hankey, and Tang Tan, who co-founded I/O. This is another I/O. I hate
Yeah,
this.
so I/O is his
Yeah.
AI focused design
Startup.
thing, and then Love Form is like his design
Studio.
thing.
Sure.
Yeah, and I'm
okay.
just
He has two design things.
I'm trying to remember what they've done. I remember there was like a story about like they made like a really expensive jacket with like some weird buttons or something. Like
Yeah, I do remember that.
I was just trying to rack my brain of like what Jony Ive has really done in his post Apple life. Like I feel like we
He made
haven't.
billions of dollars, Chris, is what's happened.
Yes,
Because
well,
he is now still an independent
clearly.
man. He's an independent contractor, but love like the other side of I/O, which includes those folks, they will become OpenAI employees alongside 50 other engineers, designers, and researchers. They're going to be working on AI hardware. It seems like Jony Ive will come in with like ideas, but he this is not quite a marriage. He's not quite committing. He's just taking the money and being like, here, you can have part of my AI startup for $6.5 billion.
Yeah.
Let us know your
It's
thoughts.
all equity though. So this is all paper money. $6.5 billion
Mhm.
of like OpenAI's like crazy what was their last round? But like their crazy valuation. Who knows how much it's actually going to be worth, but like all these people are going to sell a huge chunk of stock as soon as OpenAI goes public anyway. So
Yeah.
it's still going to be an enormous amount of money.
Let me see here. The latest thing, OpenAI has raised 57.9 billion of funding over 11 rounds.
Good Lord.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, a big chunk of that is going to this thing because I think what happened is that Sam Altman he clearly just wants to be Steve Jobs. I think that's what's happening here. And all of you, go look at the video, the announcement video for this thing, because it is one of the weirdest things I've seen. It is Jony Ive walking through San Francisco, Sam Altman walking through San Francisco with his hands in his pockets. There's a whole lot of setup to these guys meeting in a coffee shop, and then they sit there at the coffee shop like normal human beings, and then have an announcement video talking to nobody. They're just talking to like the middle of the coffee bar. I don't know who they're addressing. Sometimes they refer to each other, and sometimes they refer to camera, but they're never looking at the camera. This is just a really wild thing. Also, yet another thing that makes me believe I don't think Sam Altman is a real human boy. I think there is actually something robotic about this man because I can't see him actually perform in real life. What they're gonna do, they reference vagaries. That's all it is. We don't know what exactly is happening. There is a quote from Jony Ive And he says, quote, "The responsibility that Sam shares is honestly beyond my comprehension," end quote. Responsibility of what? Just building this like giant AI thing. Sam Altman
Future of
said like,
humanity.
yeah, for humanity, like just unlocking expertise everywhere. Sam Altman says he has some sort of AI device and it's changed his life. We don't know what it is. We don't know what they're actually working on. They announced nothing here. But Jony Ive is very happy because he has just made billions of dollars. He's not getting all of that money, but I think he's very pleased with this arrangement. And Sam Altman seems pleased that, oh, the guy who designed the iPhone and the MacBook can now work for me. And Jony Ive also says the work here at OpenAI is the best work he's ever done. Sure, you'd say that.
By
Yeah.
the way, what do you
Sure.
think Apple thinks about all this? Like
Yeah.
their AI program is flailing. And like their, star designer who, granted is not, separated from Apple a while ago, but is now teaming up with Sam Altman for like some future computing AI hardware where like they can't even get AI Siri to work. Like that must be like kind of a gut punch for the
Maybe
folks at
On the
Apple.
other side of it, though, I
yeah.
don't think it's sour grapes to say, are they going into the like friends like friend isn't even out yet, but like humane pin
Yeah.
or any
Yes.
of the other like AI sidekick sort of things, like that has already crashed and burned spectacularly
Yeah.
twice.
I think Apple is maybe have dodged a bullet here because the only reason Jony Ive is working on this thing is because OpenAI had put some money into Leftform or IO years ago too, so they already had some sort of collaboration. And he's just like, okay, people are interested in AI. What sort of like beautiful AI device can I buy? The thing is, Jony Ive unchecked as a designer leads to maddening things like the Magic Mouse.
Any
Hard to
designer
come by.
Butterfly
unchecked
keyboard.
leads to maddening
Butterfly
things.
keyboard, yeah, that's beautiful but not exactly functional. I've always worked best when Jony Ive always worked best when like he had the opposing force of somebody like a Steve Jobs who could be like, no, this idea is crazy, or rein it in, or be more functional. Um, Steve Jobs, not a great dude in many respects, but at the very least, like he was able to hone into product ideas and think about how humans use products a lot. I don't think Jony Ive on his own can do that. I don't think Sam Altman can do that because this man can barely sit and have a cup of coffee together like a human being. So, whatever this is, I honestly, Chris, I feel like Apple has dodged a bullet because this is jumping into the AI gadget trend. Apple just needs to get the software right because they have the devices, right? We're wearing Apple Watches. People have iPhones. People have MacBooks. What they need to do is solidify the infrastructure, the AI smarts between all those devices. They don't need to go out and sell a whole new device. Um, this just feels like OpenAI is a new company, and they can try to make an AI device a thing. I don't think it's super compelling, but let us know, listeners, if any of this. Listen to this chat of them talking about nothing, unlocking human greatness, unlocking expertise just through AI, through some AI gadget. I don't quite buy it. I think it's kind of garbage. But yeah, anything else you guys want to say about this?
This is coming from the same guy who, when he was asked in an interview what college students should study, he said, resilience.
Yeah.
I just think all these companies want to like make the thing that's the next iPhone so they can all
Yes.
just like stop being relying on Apple. It's the same thing Mark Zuckerberg has with all of their like hardware projects, which by the way, there was one of the stories said that Johnny Ives thing has been maybe working on like some kind of uh earbuds with cameras on them, which sounded very similar to a thing that Meta has been rumored about Meta for a long time. And like,
And also Apple. Like there were rumors about AirPods with cameras.
yeah, and everyone's just like I think trying to like make the thing that's like not an
Yes.
iPhone that will replace our iPhones, but good luck to them, I guess.
Good luck to that because I think that is coming from a fundamentally broken like it's a broken purpose. The whole reason of doing that is just try to outdo the iPhone. Uh I was thinking about this. How many companies like Apple that was printing money with iPods would just be like, "Hey, we actually have a new thing and this will entirely kill our iPod business. This new thing will destroy the existing business that is working so well for us." Not many companies do that. That's the innovator's dilemma that comes back and bites companies in the butt. That's why Sony held off so long on jumping into flat screen TVs because they were the world's leader in CRTs, in Trinitrons, and they're like, we're good into the 90s, and then they completely lost the TV business. That's why Toyota was so slow to EVs, because they're like, hybrids are good to us, hybrids are great. We don't need an EV for a very long time, and then they released an EV where the wheels fell off. So it comes for everybody. I don't know. I don't believe in these devices. Let's talk about something that could be cool. Something that is a little unrealistic, I think, but for a certain aesthetic, it is cool. Fujifilm announced the X half today. It is an $850 digital camera with an analog film aesthetic. It shoots in a 3:4 portrait aspect ratio. That's Instax mini ratio. It looks like an old school Fuji camera. This thing is pretty wild because the screen, it's only making those portrait videos. One of the key selling points is that it can replicate some film, like some things you get from film, like there's a light leak simulation for when you like overexpose film a little bit.
I mean, that's
How you can
something that Fujifilm is known for.
Yes, they love that. They love these simulation modes. This is such a social media kid camera, especially for the people who cannot afford the $2,000 Fujifilm's compact cameras.
Wow, even the screen is like, do you want to take some vertical photographs for your social media because vertical video has completely won?
You can't, and it can take video, but it is a simplistic little device. It has that, what do you call that? It's that latch that you kind of hit to wind film. It has that, so you can put it into like a film photograph mode where you don't see anything on the screen. You have to use the viewfinder to take pictures. And it starts a countdown. You could tell it to do like a film reel number of pictures, and you have to click through to hit, take your next picture. It's the winder. You can wind to the next picture. You can combine two portrait photos together. It's really cool. It's really cute. It's really unrealistic, I think, for a lot of folks. But hey, social media kids, like influencers, the people who love to shoot stuff for social media and vertical video, this could be a really cool little device. I don't. What do you guys think about this?
You know what this
Karissa.
reminds me of?
Mhm.
Is do you remember like in the early Instagram days when there was all these apps like
Yes.
Hipstamatic,
Yep.
where they tried to emulate like film aesthetics, and some of them would do these same things where like you would take the picture but you couldn't see it right away because it had to develop, and they even had like a light leak thing. And I'm like, now we've come full circle where the camera companies are basically like
Yeah.
taking, or like just sort of doing their own spin on
It
that.
only
But
took them 15 years to really jump on this trend. But yes, everybody was trying to emulate classic cameras, and Fuji was like, "Oh, you want things that cost more but do less? Got it." That's the Fujifilm X half, and I think this thing will be kind of a huge success. What you were talking about, Krista, there is a mode where it's just like, yeah, you won't see the picture immediately. It has to develop in our app, and then you will see it eventually. It's kind of cool. Like honestly,
I
like
kind of love this.
I kind of love it. I would not want it to be my main camera, but I would love to have something like this to play around when you could just be a little creative and pretend to be a street photographer for a little bit. Oh man, this would be huge in Brooklyn. I can just
Tom Rogers says, cute but stupid tech. I think that's the perfect summary.
But this is, and I would say this compared to like the AI thing, which is just like, what is this device? What are you going to do with it? It feels like a lot of nothing and vagary. Whereas this is a thing you hold. It takes cool pictures and you share it with your friends. It is such a precise thing, even though it's very expensive for what it is. I would say if you're intrigued by this, you can get cheap compact cameras, like get used cameras. I only ever buy refurbished cameras. You don't necessarily need this, but oh man,
But
it's
having
very
a Fujifilm camera is kind of a status symbol anyway, right? So like,
yes.
I don't know. This is like, it's 850 still seems like a little steep for
Yeah.
like a little toy camera, basically. But also, I'm like, I see that. I'm like, ooh, that looks nice.
Yeah, it's funny, the power shots that kids are into now from like the 2000s, those used to cost like 200 to 300 bucks, and I thought, oh, that is a big investment in camera. Then I stepped up to like the Sony mirrorlesses, which were like 500 to 600. So I'm like, okay, this is a bigger step up than even that. Most people would be better off with a mirrorless, but also those things are bigger than this tiny little pocket camera. So I don't know. I think I'm enamored with this whole thing. Also, briefly in other news, we saw that apparently Netflix is the one that is jumping out to save Sesame Street, and it's going to Sesame Street will air on Netflix and PBS simultaneously. That's a good thing because there was previously a delay when HBO was in charge.
Oh, really?
HBO,
I
yeah,
thought it
HBO would
was
get the new
simultaneous.
episodes. Yeah, they would get the new episodes, and there was like I forget how long the delay actually was, but it would be a while before new stuff hit PBS. This is just like, hey, I don't love that so much of our entertainment and pop culture we are now relying on streamers for everything, and the big media companies are just kind of disappointing us. But this is a good move. I think Sesame Street should stick around, especially with like federal funding being killed left and right for public media like this. This is a good thing. Sesame Street is still good. My kids love it. When my son starts leaning into like his Blippy era, I just kind of slowly tune that out. Like, here's some Sesame Street. I got him into Pee Wee's Playhouse, which is the original Blippy. I'm like, yes, let's go back to the source because Pee Wee's a good dude. He's really, and that show still holds up. That show is so much fun. Like a great introduction to camp for kids. Great introduction to
True.
like also diverse neighborhoods, just like Sesame Street as well. Like Pee
Or
Wee is
Mr.
like
Rogers. Mr. Rogers
Mr.
was
Rogers.
doing it
Yes.
before, I think, everyone.
Mr. Rogers was doing it really well too, but Pee Wee was always something special because Pee Wee's wild. You know, Pee Wee, Lawrence Fishburne was on Pee Wee.
True.
There's just a lot of cool stuff happening there. Looking back at it now as an adult, it is a strange thing to watch. But anyway, great to hear that Sesame Street is back. Another thing, not
Yeah,
to
let me do this one,
Go
if I
ahead.
may.
Go ahead.
So if you have any trouble getting audiobooks on Libby or Hoopla or any of the other interlibrary loan systems that you can like access on your phone or iPad, any tablet, that's because of the U.S. government. Because a while ago, the Trump administration passed yet another executive order saying that they wanted to cut a bunch of funding to the Institute of Museum and Library Services, the IMLS.
Mhm.
And they're the ones who help circulate, big quotation marks there just because it's digital files, all of these things from interlibrary loans, so you can get your audiobooks that you want. The crazy thing about this is that the IMLS was created in 1996 by a Republican-controlled Congress.
Mhm.
What's the deal here, guys? There's no waste, fraud, and abuse, but if you have problems getting audiobooks, you can tell a friend, or if anybody's complaining about why their, library selection went down by a lot on Libby recently, now you have the answer.
It is truly sad. Like a lot of what's happening is just to reduce access to information because hey, a well-informed population is dangerous to anybody in charge, right? So terrible news. Let's move on to stuff that's happening around Engadget. I want to quickly shout out that Sam Rutherford has reviewed the Asus ROG Flow Z13. This is the sort of like Surface-like device that's cool. This is the Ryzen Pro Max chip. Sam seems to like it, so that's kind of a cool thing. Not exactly stealthy. He gave it a 79, which is right below the threshold we have for recommending new products because this thing is expensive. You're paying a lot of money to essentially get a gaming tablet. But I tested it out at CES. It is cool that it actually worked for a certain type of person with too much money and who just like needs the lightest gaming thing possible. I could see it being compelling. Let's see, what is the starting price? $2,100. $2,100 for a gaming tablet. Sam says it costs the same or more as a comparable ROG Zephyrus G14 with a real RTX 5070. That is a great laptop, the ROG Zephyrus G14. We have praised that laptop so much. So this is not really meant for anybody. Asus loves to do these experiments. They're getting there. They're getting there in terms of like creating a gaming tablet, but not quite something I'd recommend for everybody at this point. All right, we have a quick email from a listener too. Thank you for sending this in, Jake Thompson. If you want to send us an email, podcast@engadget.com. And again, your emails may head into our Ask Engadget section. Jake asks, let's see, he's a real estate agent in need of a new laptop. He uses a Chromebook right now and it meets every need he has. Everything they do is web-based. But should they consider alternatives to a premium Chromebook for their next computer? He says he doesn't mind spending $750 or more if he can get something lightweight, trustworthy, with a solid battery life. what would we consider in the search? I immediately point Jake to our laptop guides because literally everything we mentioned, the MacBook Air, the Asus ZenBook S14, even the Dell XPS 13 would be not much more than that price. And I think more useful than a premium Chromebook because I think the idea of a premium Chromebook is insanity. I don't know why you're spending so much money for a thing that can only do web apps. Cheap Chromebooks, mid-range Chromebooks, fine. $500 or less, great. But if you're spending that much money and you want something that's more reliable that you could do more with, even if everything you're doing is web-based, there may be other things you want to do. MacBook, Windows laptop. There is so much more you can unlock there. A little bit of gaming, a little bit of media creation. I don't know, Karissa, Ben, do you have any thoughts on this? Like, what would you recommend, or would you guys be fine with a Chromebook?
I like Chromebooks. I thought my first thought, and maybe this is like too out there, but would an iPad Pro fit those requirements? Because you can do a lot with an iPad Pro.
You can do a lot. That's
Great
actually,
battery, lightweight, lots of apps. If everything is doing is web based, you can probably use iPad apps, right?
that's actually a good point, Carissa. Like you can do a lot with an iPad. An iPad Pro does start at around this price too, so it would be much lighter and thinner than a laptop, especially if you could do a lot of web stuff. I feel like there are some web things that don't always run well in an iPad form. Safari and iPad doesn't support like everything you'd expect from a web-based site. Like I think if you there are things we use, like we use Video Ninja to record podcasts, and that's using WebRTC. Sometimes there are things like Zencaster. Something you have to use apps to go use those things because iPad OS is so locked down. Multitasking isn't great on iPad OS. But yeah, if you're not actually doing that much and you just want a nice media device, an iPad is a good option too. All right. Thank you so much, Jake Thompson. That's a good one too, because I want to hear about people moving on from Chromebooks.
Send us more emails at podcast@engadget.com.
For sure. Let's just skip right past what we're working on because we're all busy. We're all busy with stuff. Unless you want to mention anything, Chris, anything you're working on at the moment?
The other thing I want to flag is that we are rapidly approaching another TikTok sale or ban deadline next month.
Sure.
Been a while since we heard anything about that, but I'm sure they're they're hard at work on trying to hammer out this deal, right?
Well,
Sure,
okay,
they're
but
so
that's
hard at work.
actually more relevant because they just figured out maybe kind of sort of the tariff situation, and the tariff was the thing that spoiled the first deal. So we'll see what happens, like at the beginning of July, I guess.
Yeah, I think the deadline's the 19th of June, so
Oh, at the beginning of
it's
June. Sorry.
yeah, so it's pretty close, and yeah, there has been not much that I've heard on that front, so it's
This is where we are. We're just like walking to one broken negotiation after another for the next couple of years. Anything you want to mention, pop culture related, Krista, that is taking your mind off of our broken world?
So this is a weird one, but I have been my husband loves Stargate, and we have been for years making our way through Stargate SG-1.
Oh God.
And I'm we're
Yeah.
just in the last few episodes now in the end game portion of that show. So that has been I spent years like making fun of this and like making fun of him for watching it, but like
Shit's ridiculously bad. But yeah.
everything is so bad now that it's, actually just kind of like a nice distraction
Yeah.
to just to just watch something like so silly.
That's heartwarming, actually, because
Yeah.
it is a throwback to when things were simpler. You could just make dumb TV shows and they would last for 24 episodes per season. My
For how many seasons, too, Carissa?
forever.
10 seasons.
That's a decade.
Forever. Yeah. My local lamb and rice place, my local place that does essentially New York street cart style food. They play Stargate SG-1 every time I'm in there. And I'm sitting there watching. I was like, how did we survive with this? How did we watch this show? It's because we just didn't have that much. We were desperate for for genre fiction. But okay, that's heartwarming, Carissa. Have you guys done Farscape?
No.
Have you seen Farscape? Because Farscape is a very similar type of show, but it has Jim Henson puppets and it has better
Ooh,
writing.
I love Jim
It's very cool.
Henson. Okay.
It's also it's unlike Stargate. It also dares to be like I don't know, sexy and violent too. Stargate always felt too campy to me. But Farscape was great. I bought that for $15 on iTunes, so that was a deal. I don't know if that deal is still there, but the entire series plus the post series stuff is all out there. Shout out to Farscape. Shout out to Stargate SG1. Simpler times. I want to mention a couple of things. Well, Ben, you sounded like you were going to say something.
No,
No?
you go on. You go on.
Okay. I'll just really briefly run down a few things. Andor season 2 finished over the last week. Incredible stuff. As I said in my initial review, it is really cool to see people watching this thing and just being blown away by it. And I will say the show brought me to tears at the end, and I did not expect that. I did not expect that because we know this guy's going to die. We know his fate, and yet it still means so much, and it's so well written, and the show is a phenomenon. Chris, I'd recommend it to you when you guys are recovering from Stargate SG1 loss. Andor is fantastic. I also checked out a bit of Murderbot, the Apple TV Plus adaptation of the Martha Wells books. It's fine. It is weirdly, I would say it is funny and entertaining because Alexander Skarsgård is a fun person to watch in in genre fiction, but it also feels like this could be funnier. This could be better produced. Like you could be doing more with this material, and it feels like just kind of lazy at times too. But it's a fine distraction if you're into like half-baked sci-fi. So I don't know. Another recommendation for Stargate SG1 lovers, Carissa. Final Destination Bloodlines. I reviewed over at the Filmcast, and I love this franchise. It is so cool to see it coming back after 15 years. This movie is incredible. Like this movie is great. If you understand the Final Destination formula, it's even better because it kind of plays with your expectations of the franchise. I love a horror franchise where there's no definable villain. You're just kind of trying to escape death. There's some great setups here. This is a great time at the movies. Get your popcorn. Just go enjoy the wonderfully creative kills. And shout out to Zap Lebowski and Adam B. Stein, who apparently were listeners to my other podcast and now are making good movies. So that's always a fun thing to see. Final Destination Bloodlines, a much better film than Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. My review of that is on the website now too. You can read that in Engadget. I think you can wrap.
Yeah, we're gonna talk to chat for just a little bit after this, but I am gonna do the outro now.
Mhm.
So, thanks everybody for listening. Our theme music is by game composer Dale North. Our outro music is by our former managing editor Terrence O'Brien. The podcast is produced by me, Ben Elman. You can find Karissa online at
Karissa B on Threads, Blue Sky, and sometimes still X.
Unfortunately. You can find Devindra online at
Devindra on Blue Sky, and also podcasts about movies and TV at the Filmcast at thefilmcast.com.
If you really want to, you can find me at Hey Bellman on Blue Sky. Email us at podcast@engadget.com. Leave us a review on iTunes. Darn it. Leave us a review on iTunes and subscribe. Okay, wait, let me get the tone right. Leave us a review on iTunes and subscribe on anything that gets podcasts. That includes Spotify. Kevin says, I swear to G. He's been taunting me all day because I forgot to take my mic off mute and I messed up the outro. I don't always do that, but sure. Okay, so the thing that I wanted to say in the middle of picks, but I didn't think that it was worth like actually derailing the episode for, is I remember seeing Jason Momoa in the Stargate spinoff, Stargate Atlantis.
Yes.
And I remember like just seeing, I'm like, oh, okay, this is like some kind of like TV series hunk that I'm never going to see again. He's going to be on this show and then he's going to disappear. Wow, was I wrong?
He was good. He was that show again, somehow even worse than SG1, but he was a lot of fun. He was always a lot of fun in it. Man, what's funny is how far they came from the original Stargate, which was never a great movie, but they just had this franchise in this like very basic this basic idea for science fiction coming from Roland Emmerich, the guy who did Independence Day. It's just a wild thing. How is chat doing? Kevin says DS9 was way better. Yes, sure. Most Star Trek is always
Y-
way better.
And also, everyone says that DS9 is like one of the best of the Star Treks,
It is. It is.
which is so funny because like I grew up watching like the Next Generation with my dad, and then he was just like, "Oh yeah, and I guess there's like the Deep Space Nine thing, but like that's not even that interesting because like they don't even go places, you know, they're just on a space station." But I came back to it thematically. There's a lot more going on there. Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out. Deeper9 says new Doom is dope. It is. I've been playing a bit of Doom: The Dark Ages. What a weird thing to have a super shield in a Doom game, but it works.
Oh, hello, Eats Your Shorts. Didn't notice you there.
Hello, it's your shorts. Dude named Charlie says Final Destination was enjoyable. Yes, it was.
I can't believe that this is the first Final Destination in like 15
Years.
years or something.
It's wild.
Because of the cultural impact that it's had. I know so many people who are like, I'm not driving behind that log truck. I'm going to like speed up to get around the log truck. That was the most effective
I've seen it
public
before.
safety PSA
Yes.
of my lifetime, I
I
think.
just saw a TikTok of somebody doing like, we're not going to get Final Destination by this log truck. And then the log started falling off. So
That's
it's real.
scary.
It does happen. And then for this movie, they purchased like fake log trucks and just had them.
I saw that.
Yeah, they had them just like
That's so
driving
smart.
around.
That's funny.
That must have been so fun to be the log truck driver and just like get in front of someone and slow down a bit. Oh yeah, so Simon B asked a question about whether or not some of the Google products that were announced at I/O were coming to Canada and when they would be coming to Canada. Karissa, do you have any information about that? Because I know that it can be country specific sometimes.
Yeah, I don't. I know a lot of the stuff was US first. Some of the things you can try now if you have like the Search Labs stuff turned on. I don't know if that extends to Canada. I feel like if they turn it on in the US, they should just do all of North America, right? But I don't have the details.
It might be that things are a bit more complicated. I mean, if you talk about North America, because are you talking about Mexico then too? And it would be then for English and French, but like Quebecois French. That might be like more confusing. I don't know why.
Let me see here. Oh, I see something. I should address this because I'm out here. I'm going to defend my man Pee Wee. There was this rumor back in the day. It was a weird thing. Like growing up, loving Pee Wee as a kid and kind of seeing how like Hollywood treated him. There was a sting at a pornography theater basically where he was one of the people called there. But also there was this weird, gross rumor that he was a pedophile. And I think because he was one of the rare like he was a gay man doing really well in Hollywood. It was not a great situation for him. So I want to say like that story was never true, and Pee Wee is still good.
I think that it's hard to get around that, especially as a man doing children's entertainment. And then the like adult theater sting really didn't help, you know?
Did not help at all. That was a shame. And I started rewatching Pee Wee's Big Adventure, and it's funny because I was just like, let's get away from Blippi, let's get away from whatever this YouTube kid content is, and that movie still rules. That movie rules so hard. Like, and that's also Tim Burton kind of on firing on all cylinders too. Check out Pee Wee. Check out Pee Wee's Big Adventure. It's good stuff. I need to see that documentary about him because it seems kind of sad. Yeah. Anything else?
Okay.
Chat?
Yeah, I think we need to start moving away from talking about tech and get back to writing about it. So thank you everybody for watching. OBS by Devendra, camera switching by me, flubs also by me. You remember stuff that we forget. We really enjoy interacting with chat, even when you're making fun of me in particular. And we'll see you next week.